Okay, picking up where we left off on now we're on page 336 talking about responsive images. The idea is maybe you need a system so that if you're on a big device, you get big pictures. If you're on a small device, you need small pictures. So we're not talking about CSS necessarily, because CSS could make them, change the width and the height of the picture, but I'm talking about physically. Like you would have like a small, medium, large version of an image, and then have media queries look at it and go, you're on a small device, so I want this. So they have a new feature coming up. It's in HTML 5.1, which has been out for a couple months now at the date of this video. And it's not well used, but it uses a new thing called a picture tag. And so they have a picture tag, and then inside the picture tag they have a source. And so you basically tell it minimum width equals something, and it looks just like a media tag. So I'm going to go ahead and do one, but that's not exactly... why do I have a red squiggly? Oh, because I haven't closed that guy out yet. Okay, so I'm gonna fake this because I'm not gonna do it in real life. But here's what it would look like. It would say picture, and then you would go in here and you'd have a particular source. And so the source for this picture would start with a media tag, right? Media, and so the media is going to be equal to something like, how about min width 1200 pixels. Okay, if you got min width 1200 pixels, then most likely the one you want is, the big guy, right? Big picture. Like that. And then you'd have another one underneath. So you could have, minimum width 1200, and then minimum width 800, and another one minimum width 400. And so you just boom, 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 boom. And so the system will look at it and go, aha. So you're using media queries, not necessarily in CSS, because that won't solve the problem. Using media queries inside an image tag so you can only get the small things. Cool. Now, this is HTML 5.1, and it's useful. I want you to learn it, but I'm not going to ask you to use it in your stuff because, quite frankly, it's not well supported yet. I mean, it will be sooner or later, but not right now. So let's say I'm working on something and I want it to look like something good on mobile devices, but I don't have I only got one smartphone. And it's pretty good size. I don't have any of these other things. So it's kind of tough to test these guys. But luckily, in the book on page 342, they have a list of websites that you can go to where you can load your website in a phone emulator, and it'll show what it's going to look like. So you could have what's it look like on an iPhone 6, and what's it look like on an older iPhone? What's it going to look like on a Samsung Galaxy? Whatever, you get to pick what you want this thing to be, and so it'll allow you to view all these things and go, yeah, okay, well, oops, I need to move this over a little bit. So these emulators are, unless you just eyeball it, the emulators are only the real way to know what your website's gonna look like. All right, so let's just talk about the importance of what we just did with this query thing. So media queries allow you to have one web page of content, and here it is. This is my one web page of content, and I do everything else in CSS. So everything is done in CSS, and the only thing I need to deal with is I don't have to have 2 web pages. I don't have to have 3 web pages, 4 web pages, one for each device size. I have one web page that I maintain, and then a series of a layout for printers, and a layout for small, and a layout for big. Okay, so this is actually pretty doggone revolutionary that you can have one website that you maintain, and yet anyone can see it, anyone can print it. Cool? Okay. There's another one. You know how we did all this goofy layout with these things, right? I mean, this was not tough, okay? Setting up these guys and going in here to the CSS and where we told it, I'll scoot this over and all that. Remember all that? We just did it a couple of minutes ago. Well, there's another way you can do this. It's called the Flexbox model on page 344. Now again, this is not even a standard. It's a CSS beta, and it'll be, maybe it'll make it into CSS 3 or 3.1 or whatever the next version is going to be. It's not supported in Internet Explorer. It is supported in a lot of other browsers, but not Internet Explorer. So I don't recommend you use it. But it is, read through that section on page 344. It's pretty cool. The only thing I'd ever ask you, like on a test question, is what's it for? And the answer is it just makes column layouts easy. Flexbox basically allows me to to pretend like I'm working inside almost like a table. And I can say I want this percent of my page over here, and this percent of my page over here, this percent of my page over here. And it just kind of makes it easy. So when the size of the viewport changes, these things can kind of move along. This guy was a fixed width guy, and he worked pretty good. But if I was on a really wide screen, it'd be some narrow content smack dab in the middle. This Flexbox basically allows you to kind of have this concept but kind of float. Okay, and one day it's going to be super cool, but it doesn't work on my browser, so I'm not going to use it. Okay, we have reached the end of this chapter. I know this is kind of a whirlwind tour of everything. A lot of review, although that media query and the printing stuff, that was kind of cool. And yeah, you're definitely going to have to show me how that works in some upcoming assignment. All right, we'll see you guys again in some future chapter.